Very good morning, students. Welcome to the history session, children. So I hope everybody is doing fine. And children, today we are starting this chapter, the Kings and Chronicles. This is from the book number second, the theme 9. Kings and the Chronicles. Before we start discussing about the Chronicles, these are the literary sources, children. Literary sources, without understanding, literary sources about a period or a particular time period, you cannot understand the history of that period. Same thing is true about the Mughals. Whatever books, the literary sources available of Mughal period, without going through them, it is very difficult to understand the history of Mughals. And these are the indispensable part of the Mughal history. Literary sources like, for example, Babarnama, Akbarnama, Humayunama, Shahnama, Alamgirnama, which is the name of the Aurangzeb, the last Mughal emperor. So, this chapter is dealing how these chronicles were made, how these literary sources were made, and what were the importance of these sources, what they were messaging, what were the feeling of rulers behind them. So all these series of events we are going to discuss in this chapter. So we start with the introduction about the Mughals. So in the chapter you will see Mughals rulers actually started. The founder was the Babur, and Babur was belonging to a place called Fargana, and he was somewhere connecting himself with the Turkish background, and later on his son Humayun followed him, but somewhere he was defeated by the Sher Shah, or he was forced to run away from India. He again returned back in his last phase of the life. He conquered the Delhi, but he could not survive for a long time. He died tumbling down from a library in Delhi. Then the greatest ruler of this Mughal period was the Akbar. Jalaluddin Akbar, who ruled for the maximum period. At a very young age he came to the throne, but with the time passes, he actually took over the all administrative duty, putting aside his mentor Bahram Khan, and even he introduced his own faith, the thought of religion also, which is known as Deen Ilahi, which was about part of ideological thinking in terms of all the religions, because he wanted to include in that thought all the good things of all the religions. He had good relations with the non-Muslims also, including the Rajputs, the Jats, the Marathas, and that is why his tenure is considered to be one of the most prosperous and most established period. After that, Akbar, the two rulers followed him were the Shahjahan, Jahangir, and the son of Shahjahan was the Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was more ruthless in terms of his religious policies. He was following strict Sharia governance, etc. And his strict religious policies somewhere laid counter effects, and some of the communities like Jat, Marathas, Rajputs, they got very angry with those religious pursuings, and ultimately this led to the end of the Aurangzeb, and the Mughal Empire started declining after his death. And the last Mughal emperor was the Bahadur Shah Jafar. You might be knowing, after the failed revolt of 1857, he was arrested and sent to the jail of Rangoon with his wife, and his two children were shot dead by the Britishers. So this is a brief history of the Mughals. After that, if I take the production of chronicles, these rulers or the Mughal rulers, as I say, they wanted to portray their state as one of the just one, where justice is supreme. They wanted to portray the writers who were writing, they were maximum the courtiers who were writing the history of these Mughals. And they were claiming that anyone who was raising his voice against the Mughal Empire is destined to fail. He will be suppressed ruthlessly. So and these chronicles, whether it is Babarnama, Shahnama, as I said, or Aine-e-Akbari, Akbarnama, all these give a message what the ruler was feeling about its masses, and the administrative knowledge, the knowledge of their forces, the knowledge of production, the prices, the bazars, etc. So we get detailed information about Mughal empires through this chronicle. Next point is from Turkish to Persian. This is about language. When Babur and other ruler initially came to India, they followed the Turkish language because he was connecting himself somewhere from the Genghis Khan, from his mother's side. So he followed the Turkish language. But it was Akbar who persuaded compulsory use of Persian language in his court. And slowly all the proceedings of the courts, appointment, announcement, all the administrative work was done in the Persian. So the governing class, the courtiers, administrators, they started understanding and writing, doing work in the Persian language, and ultimately this became the language of common use. But this Persian somewhere affected the other Indian languages also. Maybe the Persian could not become the regular language of Indians, but the idioms, the words of Persian languages affected the Marathi, the Rajasthani, and even the language like Tamil. And later on, even certain religious books like Ramayana and Mahabharata, they were translated to Persian during the time of Akbar and other Mughal rulers. Next is the making of manuscripts. Children, making of manuscripts was why they are called manuscripts, because they are handwritten literary sources. And making of these manuscripts was a long process. An entire work was done at a place called Kitab Khana. You can call it a library or a scriptorium also. But this was a place where these manuscripts were made, and they were actually written, or they were the binded, they were painted, etc. So there were different people working for these manuscripts. There were calligraphers who were writing, there were painters who were painting the images, events, there were people who were making the papers for the folios, there were people, binders who were binding the entire written document, there were gilders, those who were making those words beautiful. And Akbar himself liked one way of writing very much, that was the Nastaliq art of handwriting with a long horizontal strokes. He liked it very much. And many people like the writers, calligraphers, they became very popular. They were very important. Painters were very important. But some of the people like were of less important, like those people who were making the papers, those who were the binders, they remain actually unknown to the coming generations. So that's it, children. I have introduced the topic, taking first 2-3 topics of this chapter, and I have uploaded a document accordingly. Go through the questions given there and write the answer in your history notebook. Have a good day. Thank you.